welcome to your Bhagavad Gita deep dive.
Yeah.
You guys gave us a ton of excerpts for this one.
Yeah, wow.
So we know you're serious about unlocking its wisdom.
Definitely.
We're talking multiple paths to spiritual growth, turning everyday work into something meaningful,
Right.
and how to conquer those inner demons, metaphorically, of course.
Of course, yeah.
This ancient text is like a choose-your-own-adventure guide to enlightenment.
I like that.
It lays out 4 main paths:
Yeah.
Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Raja Yoga.
Okay.
Expert. Can you give us the rundown on these different approaches? Who might each path resonate with?
Absolutely. The Gita recognizes that we're all wired differently.
Right.
Think of it like finding the best trail up a mountain. Everyone has their own pace and preferred terrain.
Okay.
For those who thrive on action, there's Karma Yoga, the path of selfless service.
So not clocking out and hiding from the world, but finding purpose in our actions.
Exactly. It's about bringing intention and dedication to everything you do without getting hung up on the outcome.
Right.
You ever get that feeling of flow where you're fully immersed in a task and it just feels right?
Yeah.
That's Karma Yoga in action.
I can see how that connects to finding a sense of purpose, even in everyday tasks. Okay, what about those of us who are more into contemplation and deep thinking? What's their path?
That's where Jnana Yoga comes, in the path of knowledge and self-reflection.
Okay.
This one's for the curious minds who love to dive into the why behind everything.
Yeah.
Think of it like exploring a vast library of ancient wisdom,
Right.
piecing together the puzzle of existence.
So instead of just accepting things at face value, it's about seeking deeper understanding. Got it. Yeah. Now, I'm intrigued by this idea of a path based on love and devotion. Tell me more about Bhakti Yoga.
This one's all about cultivating a deep, heartfelt connection with something greater than yourself.
Okay.
A chosen deity, a guiding principle, the universe itself.
Right.
It's about surrendering to that force with complete trust and letting that love guide your actions.
It's a good reminder that spirituality doesn't have to be rigid or overly intellectual.
Yeah,
It can be deeply personal and emotionally resonant.
absolutely. And finally, we have Raja Yoga, the path of meditation and mental discipline.
Okay.
Think of this as the inner engineer approach.
Okay.
It's about using specific techniques to understand and master your own mind.
Like training your mind the way an athlete trains their body.
Exactly. Raja Yoga recognizes that our minds are incredibly powerful tools.
Right.
But they need training just like any other muscle.
No.
One technique they use is breath control.
Oh.
Regulating your breath can actually calm your mind and lead to deeper states of awareness.
Wow, I never thought of breath control as a spiritual practice, but it makes so much sense. It seems like the Gita is saying there's no one right way to reach enlightenment.
Right.
It's about finding the path that resonates with your unique personality and strengths.
Precisely. It's like choosing the hiking trail that suits your fitness level and interests.
Right.
The important thing is to keep moving forward on your journey.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the Gita isn't afraid to talk about the challenges of spiritual growth. One passage that stood out to me compares this journey to driving along a zigzag road with endless curves.
Yeah.
It definitely paints a vivid picture. What are some of those metaphorical roadblocks we might encounter on this path?
That's a great question, and the text doesn't shy away from the fact that spiritual progress isn't always linear or easy.
Right.
Just like that winding road, there will be ups and downs,
Yeah.
detours, and moments where you feel lost.
Right.
Our own desires, often compared to insatiable cravings, can be major roadblocks. They can lead us down the wrong path towards anger,
Okay.
greed, and a focus on the self, taking us further away from our goal.
So it's acknowledging that this journey isn't a walk in the park. There will be setbacks,
Right.
challenges, and maybe even a few wrong turns along the way.
That's the reality of any meaningful journey, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. But like any good adventure, it's about learning from those challenges and using them to grow.
Exactly. And speaking of challenges, the Gita also hints at a tempting shortcut on this winding path.
Oh,
Have you come across that passage yet?
I have. And I'm very curious to hear your take on this shortcut.
Yep.
It almost sounds too good to be true. Okay, so before we went off-roading on that winding spiritual path, you hinted at a shortcut.
Right.
Lay it on me. What's the Gita's take on a fast track to enlightenment?
Well, remember how we were talking about Bhakti Yoga being the path of love and devotion?
Yeah, the one where you fully surrender to something greater than yourself?
Exactly. That's the shortcut the Gita is talking about.
Okay.
It's like finding a tunnel that cuts straight through the base of the mountain.
Okay.
No more switchbacks and hairpin turns.
Okay. That sounds pretty tempting. But what's the catch? There's got to be a catch, right?
It's always a catch. Bhakti yoga requires a leap of faith. It's about complete surrender, trusting that even though you can't see the path ahead, you're being guided towards the light at the end of that tunnel.
So it's a trade-off, less struggle on the outside, but a whole lot of trust required on the inside.
Precisely. And it highlights a key point the Gita keeps coming back to.
Okay.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach to spirituality.
Right.
Each path has its own challenges and rewards.
It's like those personality quizzes. Which yoga path are you?
Exactly. But here's where things get really interesting. The Gita doesn't actually see these paths as completely separate.
Okay.
Remember that idea of multiple trails leading to the same mountain peak?
Yeah, I'm starting to think the Gita is all about embracing those both-hand situations.
Exactly. The text actually suggests that these paths, while distinct, eventually converge. It's like those trails merging as you get closer to the summit.
Right.
And this brings us to the fascinating story of Arjuna.
Okay. For those of us who need a little refresher, who's Arjuna in this epic tale?
Arjuna is a central figure in the Bhagavad Gita, a skilled warrior facing a moral dilemma on the battlefield.
Okay.
Think of him as someone who's achieved great things externally, but is now grappling with deep inner conflict. He's chosen for a divine revelation, a direct experience of the universal spirit that completely transforms his understanding.
So it's like he's suddenly transported from the foothills to the mountain peak in a flash of insight.
Exactly. And this transformation highlights something crucial about the Gita's message.
Okay.
Direct experience is a powerful catalyst for spiritual growth.
It's one thing to read about climbing a mountain, but it's a whole other experience to actually stand on the summit.
Exactly. And notice how Arjuna's questions change after this experience.
Okay.
He's no longer just concerned with his personal struggles. He's asking deeper questions about the nature of reality.
Okay.
The purpose of existence, the true meaning of devotion.
Right.
This is what the Gita means by knowledge arising from devotion.
That's really interesting. It's like experiencing something firsthand can completely shift your perspective and deepen your understanding in a way that intellectualizing it never could.
You've hit the nail on the head. And this brings us to another fascinating aspect of the Gita that often resonates with people today.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about choosing your own path?
Right.
Well, the Gita doesn't shy away from the fact that there are many different perspectives on truth and spirituality.
That's one of the things I find so refreshing about this ancient text. It's comfortable with ambiguity and encourages exploration instead of clinging to rigid dogma.
It's a breath of fresh air, isn't it? Especially in a world that often feels so polarized and divided. The Gita even goes so far as to mention the Vedic tradition of praising different gods.
Wait, hold on. I remember that part, and I have to admit, it threw me for a loop. How can you have a path to truth if there are multiple versions of the divine being worshipped?
That's a great question, and it perfectly captures the kind of open-minded inquiry the Gita encourages.
Okay.
It's not about blindly accepting contradictions, but rather understanding the context and the deeper message behind these seemingly conflicting ideas.
So how do we reconcile this idea of multiple truths with our innate desire for clear-cut answers? Is the Gita saying anything goes?
That's a question we'll dive into right after this quick break.
Don't go anywhere, folks. Things are about to get really thought-provoking. We're back, and I got to say, that last part really got me thinking. The Gita's take on multiple truths. It's really making me rethink how I view spirituality. You know, it's not about finding one right answer.
Yeah.
But being open to different perspectives and approaches.
It's a different way of looking at things, for sure.
Absolutely. So let's dive back into that head-scratcher we left off with. The Gita's mention of praising different gods.
Okay.
How does that fit into this whole multiple truths framework?
What if instead of seeing these different gods as like competing deities, we see them as representing different aspects of a single all-encompassing reality, like facets of a diamond, each reflecting light in a unique way?
Okay, I'm starting to see where you're going with this. So it's not about choosing the right God, but recognizing the interconnectedness of all things.
Precisely. The Gita emphasizes that the divine can manifest in countless forms, and each path offers a different way of connecting with that ultimate reality.
Okay.
It's about finding what resonates with you,
Right.
what helps you access that deeper truths within yourself.
It's like that saying, there are many paths up the mountain, but they all lead to the same summit. Each path might have a different view,
Right.
a different set of challenges, but the destination is ultimately the same.
A perfect analogy. And remember, the Gita isn't just a theoretical treatise.
Right.
It's a practical guide to living a more fulfilling life. It's filled with wisdom we can apply to our everyday experiences.
Speaking of practical wisdom, there's a passage that really struck me. The one about the human body being like a city with 9 gates. Could you unpack that one for us? It sounds kind of trippy.
It is a powerful image, isn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine your body as this bustling city with 9 gates representing your senses. Okay. Sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch, and even your mind itself.
Okay.
These gates are how we experience the world.
Right.
How we let information and experiences in.
Okay, I'm starting to see the city taking shape in my mind. So what's the Gita's advice on managing these city gates? Do we just lock them all up and become hermits?
Not quite. The Gita isn't about shutting ourselves off from the world. It's about becoming aware of what we let through those gates, what we allow to influence our thoughts, emotions and actions. It's about cultivating a sense of mindful engagement with the world around us.
So it's like being a mindful gatekeeper, carefully choosing what we allow into our city to maintain inner peace and clarity.
Exactly. And this is where those yogic practices we talked about earlier come in.
Right.
Meditation, selfless action, pursuing knowledge. These are all tools for strengthening our inner gatekeepers, so to speak.
This whole concept of the city with 9 gates is brilliant. It's such a tangible way to think about something as complex as managing our senses and desires.
The Gita is full of these little nuggets of wisdom.
It really is.
These metaphors and stories that make ancient truths relevant to our modern lives.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. From the 4 paths of yoga to the city with 9 gates. And let's not forget that mind-blowing concept of multiple truths. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they continue their own exploration of the Bhagavad Gita?
Remember that the Gita isn't a book to be read just once and then shelved. Right. It's a lifelong companion, a source of guidance and inspiration that can be revisited again and again. Each time you engage with its wisdom, you'll likely discover something new, a fresh insight that resonates with where you are on your journey.
It's the living text, always evolving along with our understanding. So to everyone listening, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to pick up a copy of the Bhagavad Gita. Read it, reflect on it, discuss it with others, and most importantly, let its timeless wisdom guide you on your own unique path to spiritual growth and self-discovery. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey into the heart of the Bhagavad Gita. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep exploring the infinite possibilities that lie within you.